Up in all angles, in the final hours before the polls close, what has to happen? Also, what happens on voting day? Also, a documentary special by Giovanni Dennis.
So we not pre the pass even though COVID put we at the stoplight, but we'll get the green light.
Me a real comrade, that's why she love me. She no want the money, she just want vote feet. Me no need love if you vote, yeah man.
Sound clash, Jamaican music and politics. Thank you so much for joining us for another edition of All Angles. I'm Dion Jackson-Miller, and as always, a very special welcome to our viewers on onespotmedia.com. Now, a little bit later on in the program, we're talking to representatives of the political parties about what happens on election day. This whole thing about getting out the vote, what does that really mean? First, though, music has always been a big part of our election campaigns, and this year was no exception, especially with all the campaign dubs that were dropping. In the special documentary, Giovanni Dennis takes a look at the link between music and politics in Jamaica.
The threat of COVID couldn't stop Jamaicans from going out against protocols to support their party on nomination day. The dancehall atmosphere, everything that makes Jamaican politics so unique, rightly or not, was simply too much to abandon. This year has been unprecedented not only because of COVID, but the sheer number of original campaign songs and dubs released.
Bad mind left for out in the cold for we catch frostbite. Things that we da get dark, jagger shine him light. And we not pre the pass even though COVID put we at the stoplight, but we'll get the green light.
This was the first one I heard the morning after nomination and election days were announced. That same morning, I heard this dub.
Can't say you ever beg him and know your style that. Put your call to him out, you will flop that. Yeah, you have your own money, yeah, you got that.
There have been at least 20 others since, some courting controversy.
Oh, what a feeling, the socialist feeling. More I feel everything.
Others riding off the back of popular hits.
Well clean in a brand new clocks, pan foot. Every girl pass show can do a rock.
But even though there have been many more this year, music has always played an important role in Jamaican elections and politics. But why?
Yeah, the music gives you more energy and vibes it up, and music is life.
Which one is your favorite on the campaign and the politics one?
Wow, government badness and oldness. Vote for Labour.
Tell your neighbor big vote for Labour.
Yes, because they were kind of give a party in a rhythm the party, you know. So you do a party when you're going to lead and Michael man, you know, a general, you know.
If you do have music, but entertain the people who you know as your supporter, you're not going to have no crowd. So music are the beat of the people. Music is our message.
And it's good because music is not a weapon. And if we can use music to bring people together.
For decades, music has not only been used in campaigns, but also in speeches at conferences and party rallies. Dr. Paul Ashley is a noted political commentator.
It is critical. It is part of what you would like to call the culture. Look here, elections are basically popularity contests, you know. Therefore, you have to draw out the crowd. You have to entertain the crowd. You have to get the crowd to like you, and hopefully they will vote for you.
Dr. Omar Davis of the PNP and Desmond McKenzie of the JLP are veteran politicians and noted music experts.
The music is not just about revving up the bass. The music has message. If you go back to the time when political parties, when the JLP under Mr. Seaga started to use music, that would have been around the 67 general elections, when probably two of the most popular songs that were out then was Everything Crash
Look there now, everything crash.
And they must get a beating by Peter Tosh. So the songs is not just about a rallying cry. The songs are used as for messaging purposes.
It became an integral part of not just election campaign, but certainly annual conferences. To the point where some of the selectors almost wish to, behaved as if the people had come to listen to their selections rather than to the speeches.
Dr. Sonia Stanley Naya and Professor Christopher Charles have written about music, pop culture, and politics.
There's no separation at all. Campaigns have always had music, whether it's the Jamaica Labour Party or the People's National Party. The music has formed an integral component of the campaigning, the electioneering in Jamaica. The music is used to vibes up the crowd. The music is used to send messages. The music is there to counteract messages. The music is there to reinforce messages. Remember, music is the soul of our people. We, in fact, create music out of our very souls. And so there is no surprise that electioneering in Jamaica would want to exploit even the popular cultural assets of Jamaica.
Professor Charles did research during the speeches of former Prime Ministers Edward Seaga and P.J. Patterson at their party conferences in the build-up to the 2002 general election.
When P.J. Patterson came on to the platform, Duke Hamilton played Young, Gifted and Black.
To be young, gifted and black, open your heart to all.
And when I spoke to the party supporters, it was, according to them, the first black prime minister. He wasn't the first black prime minister, but in their minds, in terms of how they were thinking, that he was a black prime minister, but he was also young and gifted. Although he was an old man, but in the framing, when Duke played that, to say that Mr. Patterson was young, gifted and black, that's how the supporters saw Mr. Patterson when I interviewed them.
And at the JLP's conference,
when Mr. Seaga was there speaking, they played The World's Greatest. That R. Kelly song, The World's Greatest.
I can feel it, I'm the world's greatest.
You know that song, lyrics, very powerful, awesome melody. And when I interviewed the JLP supporters, they told me that Mr. Seaga was the world's greatest. So when the songs are played, selectors know what they're doing. They are cueing the supporters about a particular message.
These are some of the most impactful songs over the years.
Tell them again, me and the neighbor, alright, voting for Labour. I am me and the neighbor.
But both Dr. Davis and Mr. Mackenzie agree the Clancy Eccles produced the message more popularly called My Leader Barnia by Neville Martin may be the most significant to date.
My leader Barnia, my leader Barnia. That's why
It was good because it was an issue. I mean, in retrospect, it shouldn't be so important, but it was an issue that Mr. Seaga was born in Boston, and well, so comrades kept saying, "My leader is genuine because he's totally Jamaican."
How effective was that? How did you find that?
Very effective, you know, because at that time the question of color was still a major issue, and they used the words of a song which was a popular song on the lips of every Jamaican, even me love the song, you know, but it tells you how catchy the song was, and because of that it was used right through that era of the campaign. And I think it had effect.
I haven't heard any so far which would carry that double whammy of being something you hum along or sing along with. And something which was, in a sense, almost like a musical manifesto.
Despite not having a song as resonating at the time, the JLP was creative.
You pick him up, you lick him down, him bounce right back. What a hard man for did.
It's not everybody know how to incorporate popular music into political strategy. And you have breaks in the speech that you identify the appropriate stanzas for that place. Eddie Seaga was a champion of that. Eddie Seaga, in his speeches, especially the annual conference, in collaboration with Babsy Grange and Desmond McKenzie, if you saw a draft of the speech, you saw the speech, then in square brackets was the name of the song and the verse or the lines that must put and where it must stop.
For instance, we started it in the arena because, you know, when you have a conference in the arena, the attention span of the audience after the first 40 minutes of the conference gone. And sometimes you literally, by the time the leader comes on to speak, you're literally talking to an empty arena. So we had to figure out how was the best way to hold the crowd in the middle of the speech. And I sat with him one evening and we went through his script. And he said, no, look, we need to play this here, we need to play that here. When he used to talk about bad card, and he said, them draw a bad card and they throw a bad card into it.
And what was the crowd reaction?
It's the most amazing thing you ever believe. You believe that this was strategically choreographed. And when Seaga would all pause and just go like this, and then Desmond would just play, and the crowd roar, right? And then he comes on again. And every serious point, they have an appropriate song.
When they're recalling in the interviews about the experience, they're laughing, they're smiling, and you could see that they had a good time. So it's actually a party atmosphere.